Today is a very important day to me. It's June 15th, and it's been 6 months now. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you when it's going to be 1 year exactly. But again, just like every time I start a show, this has nothing to do with anything. So what are we talking about today? Ocean mysteries. So first of all, ask yourself, why is that we never find what we are looking for, just like you're looking for the answer now? What is that 6 months thing? Okay, never mind. There is no longer any surprise when you expand the question to a wet and deep domain. We all probably lost something in the sea. It wouldn't be the first time, nor would it be. I cussed big time when I dropped the phone not too long ago and a silver bracelet a long time ago. But I simply shrugged my shoulders and asked, what are you going to do? Yes, there's nothing you can do. Once it's down there, it's gone, right? Well, larger objects such as warplanes and other things can also get lost in the water. I know I sound like Bart Simpson now. Some of the most fascinating unresolved water and ocean mysteries and disappearances are here. So let's dive into it. So I'm pretty sure you heard of Milky Sea phenomenon. Well, those are large areas of the ocean glowing with a milky light caused by bioluminescent bacteria. Remain not fully understood in terms of scale and triggers, but it's kind of like an everyday experience for me. Like nothing new there. Whoever experienced night swimming remembers how water glitters when you jump in. And then again, of course, how can we possibly miss the giant squid? Well, look my episode number 61 where I'm discussing not the giant but the colossal squid. Once thought mythical, giant squids are rarely seen alive, and much about their behavior and biology remains mysterious. And you know what else is mysterious? Well, that's crazy. Undersea geology and crop circles. Well, strange underwater formations and patterns have been found, but their formation processes are unclear. However, it is suspected that in Japan, a little male pufferfish, which are only 12 centimeters or 5 inches long, are the ones who make these underwater crop circles. It's like a tiny little Zen gardens under the sea, right? So over the course of 7 to 9 days, the pufferfish painstakingly build these rings by swimming in and out the sandy bottom, digging valleys with their fins and forming ridges and valleys that are radially aligned. And the core region is meticulously prepared with fine sand particles, while the males adorn the peaks with pieces of shell and coral. Rituals, especially mating rituals, are important. But let's move on to something else. I want to talk about these massive waves. They call them rogue waves, massive waves over 100 feet tall that can appear suddenly and have caused many ship disappearances. Scientists are still researching how these waves form and sustain themselves. Rogue waves, also known as freak or killer waves, are exceptionally large and unexpected. Surface waves that can be extremely dangerous to ships and offshore structures even. In oceanography, a rogue wave is defined as a wave whose height is more than twice the significant wave height. And these waves often appear as towering walls of water with steep sides and unusually deep throughs. And they can strike suddenly, sometimes from directions different from prevailing winds or waves. And there is no one cause for rogue waves, but a number of mechanisms have been found to be responsible. The crests and throughs of several wave systems might coincide as they cross paths, momentarily strengthening one another to create a much larger wave. These waves can come and go in a flash. The Agulhas current of the coast of South Africa is one example of a place where powerful currents counter prevailing waves. In these areas, waves can be compressed, merging to form larger, longer-lived rogue waves. And the nonlinear Schrodinger's equation describes how some wave patterns can absorb energy from nearby waves to produce a single extraordinarily massive wave before fading. And the seafloor or coastline's form might cause multiple smaller waves to coincide, pooling their energy into a single enormous wave. Yeah, that was interesting, but what about ship disappearances? Also, numerous ships, including HMS Ardent from 1794, HMS Hermes 1796, USS Insurgent 1800, HMS Juno from 1880, and many others lost in storms or under unclear circumstances, and often without distress signals or recovered wreckage. So we don't know if this was the so-called untypical wave or whatever heck it is. But one famous case was in 1872. Mary Celeste found adrift in the Atlantic Ocean with no one on board and no clear explanation for the crew's disappearance. And even today, this remains one of the most enduring maritime mysteries. In 1913, the inventor of the diesel engine, Rudolf Diesel, I'm pretty sure you heard of it, vanished inexplicably while traveling across the English Channel in a steamship. His death was, of course, officially determined to be a suicide. However, because his discovery put established companies and powerful interests at risk, his disappearance is the subject of numerous conspiracy theories. And Diesel created, don't forget, an internal combustion engine that could run on a range of fuels, including peanut and vegetable oil, and was more efficient than gas engines that were already in use. The hegemony of conventional oil firms and coal-powered engines might have been challenged by this invention, and despite having numerous patents, Diesel was reputedly deeply in debt at the time of his disappearance. He was also negotiating deals for military uses of his engine, including submarines. According to some stories, Diesel was killed by rivals in the oil industry such as John Rockefeller, who might have viewed Diesel's engine as a danger to the petroleum market, or by German spies because of the engine's significance in early U-boat designs. Others assumed that Kaiser Wilhelm II political intrigue was involved, and Diesel's death is still unknown despite these theories because no solid proof has surfaced. Okay, so let's talk about a Warada SS known as the Titanic of the South. And this passenger ship disappeared in 1909 off the coast of South Africa, presumably due to the same weather and structural issues. The sister ships of the Cyclops, the USS Proteus and Nereus, both vanished in the Bermuda Triangle in 1941. So that's like later on. The USS Cyclops, carrying 309 crewmen and guests, vanished in the Bermuda Triangle in 1918. No wreckage or distress signals were ever found. The cause is still unknown, while extreme weather and structural defects might be contributing causes. So now it's 1943, and I probably wouldn't mention this, but due to its cultural influence, it is definitely worth mentioning it, even if it's not exactly beneath the sea surface, and it's most likely not genuine. It didn't really happen. That's what I meant to say. Well, I'm talking about the Philadelphia experiment, which is apparently it was a classified U.S. Navy experiment that is believed to have occurred at a Philadelphia naval shipyard on or around October 28, 1943. And the myth claims that the Navy used massive electrical generators to bend light around the destroyer escorting the USS Eldridge in an effort to make it undetectable to enemy electronics. Well, the ship allegedly teleported from Philadelphia to Norfolk, Virginia, which is roughly 200 miles away, and then returned after a brief disappearance as a result of the experiment. Although paranormal fiction and films promoted the story, the U.S. Navy has continuously denied that any such experiment ever took place. And also, Carl Allen, the major source of the story, had a history of mental illness, and his stories are considered to be fictional rather than accurate. Well, at least he wasn't the only one with the imaginary friends. I know many other people like that. Well, you know what happened. You know what apparently halted the Nazi atomic bomb program, secret weapons and heavy water cargo. Well, In Lake Tinn, Norway, a ferry carrying barrels of heavy water crucial for Nazi nuclear research was sunk deliberately to prevent its retrieval. Recent underwater scans revealed the ferry and barrels intact at great depth, confirming the heavy water cargo was lost. The SF Hydro was transporting barrels of heavy water in railroad trains across Lake Tinn on February 20th, 1944, when Norwegian saboteurs detonated explosives on board. The ferry's cargo and the remaining heavy water supply in Norway were carried to the bottom as it exploded and sunk in the deepest section of the lake. Another interesting story is about the battle between HMS Sydney and the German merchant raider Cormoran. The wrecks of the Australian cruiser HMS Sydney and the German raider Cormoran, disguised as the former, were discovered at considerable depths off the coast of Western Australia. In a vicious close quarters fight, the Cormoran used the sea to draw the Sydney into range and unleashed deadly fire, resulting in the loss of the ship along with all 645 crew members. However, there is more to the sea's depth than meets the eye. The world's first stealth weapons, German U-boats, and other Nazi warships are concealed beneath oceans all around the world. Their wrecks provide insight into Second World War underwater combat by revealing information about secret activities, technological developments, and strategic engagements. Second World War wreckage can still be found strewn around the Pacific, Atlantic, and even inland areas like Lake Michigan. These locations, which occasionally leak pollutants but also preserve underwater cultural treasures, are researched for both their historical relevance and environmental impact. The ocean's Second World War mysteries were further compounded by the unexplained disappearance of some World War II aircraft and boats, such as the Martin PBM Mariner flying boat that went missing during a search operation. Modern sonar, underwater scanning, and remotely operated vehicles frequently enable these findings by enabling researchers to, quotation mark, drain the oceans virtually and uncover secrets from the battle. And after the Second World War, many things happen, and one of them that is pretty interesting is in 1986. I don't know if you have heard of Yonaguni Monument, a mysterious submerged rock formation off the coast of Yonaguni Island, Japan. It features terraces, steps, huge flat surfaces, and sharp right angles that resemble ancient architecture, leading to debate about whether it is a natural geological formation or the ruins of a main structure dating back around 10,000 years. Well, they were discovered again in 1986 by diver Kihachiro Aratake. The monument is also located just 100 meters offshore at a depth of 10 to 15 meters, making it fully accessible to divers of various skill levels, though currents can be strong, I have to say. The site includes features such as massive columns, terraces with large steps, and what some interpret as an altar or chapel area, contributing to its nickname as Japan's Atlantis. While some researchers believe the monument was carved by a lost civilization, possibly Japan's prehistoric Jomon people, others argue it is a natural formation shaped by erosion and tectonic activity in this earthquake-prone region. One thing is for sure, these structures weren't built by a little male pufferfish. So now it's 1997. A mysterious low-frequency sound known as the bloop was recorded in the south of the Pacific. Some believed it to be coming from a large, unknown aquatic creature. Some people still don't believe that the 2005 discovery that it was caused by an ice quake, icebergs, breaking of glaciers is a sufficient explanation. The bloop was a mysterious ultra-low frequency, high-amplitude underwater sound detected by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1997. The sound was so powerful that it was picked up by underwater microphones, or hydrophones if you want, more than 5,000 kilometers apart across the Pacific Ocean near a remote point west of the southern tip of South America. The bloop captivated the interest of both scientists and the general public upon its initial discovery. Its distinct acoustic profile, which increased in frequency quickly over the course of a minute or so, was unheard of before. So many things can be involved: man-made sources such as submarines or explosives, unknown marine species, even larger than whales. I don't know what that would be. Giant squids or legendary sea monsters. It could have also been underwater seismic or volcanic activity. And because of the sound's so-called organic nature, some scientists temporarily thought it might have biological origins, but its volume greatly outstripped that of any known animal, sparking years of irrational hypotheses and infatuation with popular culture. Okay, do you remember the 2000 year, August 12th, is the Kursk submarine disaster when the Russian nuclear-powered cruise missile submarine K-141 Kursk sunk in the Barents Sea during a major naval exercise, resulting in the deaths of all 118 crew members on board. The official investigation concluded that the disaster was triggered by an explosion caused by a faulty weld in a dummy Type 65 torpedo casing, which allowed highly concentrated hydrogen peroxide to leak inside the torpedo tube. And this leaked HTP came into contact with the catalyst, causing a violent catalytic explosion. The initial blast blew off the torpedo tube doors, ignited a fire, and destroyed bulkheads between the first compartments of the submarine. About 2 minutes after the first explosion, a second, much larger explosion occurred, equivalent to 3 to 7 tons of TNT, caused by the detonation of additional torpedo warheads. And this second blast tore a large hole in the hull, collapsed bulkheads, and destroyed several compartments, killing or incapacitating most of the crew. 23 sailors survived the initial explosions and took refuge in the ninth compartment, where they survived for several hours. However, when their oxygen ran low, an attempt to replace a chemical oxygen cartridge led to another explosion and fire, which consumed the remaining oxygen and suffocated the survivors. The Russian Navy response was widely criticized for delays and poor preparedness. The submarine was eventually raised from the seabed in October 2001 by a Dutch salvage company, Mammoet, and the remains of 115 sailors were recovered and later buried in Russia. The official report highlighted stunning breaches of discipline, shoddy, obsolete, and poorly maintained equipment, as well as negligence, incompetence, and mismanagement within the Russian Navy. It is also noted that the ventilation valve was left open, allowing the blast wave and toxic gases to propagate through compartments, worsening the damage and casualties. The Kursk was an Oscar II class nuclear-powered cruise missile submarine, one of the most advanced in the Russian Navy at the time. The initial explosion was caused, again, as I have said, hydrogen peroxide fuel torpedo leaking and igniting inside the submarine. Sad story, but considering it's Russia we're talking about, not surprised at all. 2005. Have you ever heard of George Smith? A man disappeared mysteriously from a cruise ship in the Mediterranean. Although the official conclusion was accidental overboard fall, his family suspected foul play, and the case remains unsolved and kind reminds of Rudolph Diesel case. Well, George, a 26-year-old American man from Connecticut, disappeared under suspicious circumstances on July 5th, 2005 during his honeymoon cruise aboard the Royal Caribbean ship Brilliance of the Seas in the Mediterranean Sea, somewhere in between Greece and Turkey. He might have gone overboard because bloodstains were discovered in his cabin and on the outside of the ship beneath his balcony. Since a chair was discovered leaning against the balcony railing, the ship's captain assumed that Smith has fallen by mistake. The previous evening, Smith had been having a wild time with friends he made on board, including 4 men who were the last to see him alive: Josh Askin, Rusty Kaufman, Greg Rosenberg, and Zach Rosenberg. And the FBI looked into the matter, even sending it to their mafia division at one time because there were rumors of foul play and potentially robbery gone bad. The FBI eventually terminated the case in 2015 because there was not enough evidence to prove homicide, and no one was charged despite the suspicion despite the suspicious circumstances. Smith's family has offered a reward for information that results in an arrest and conviction because they firmly believed he was murdered. And what is really spooky is that Greg Rosenberg, one of the guys who was last seen with Smith, was killed in 2019 and may have taken important information on Smith's disappearance with him. Although Smith's family disputes this, Smith's widow, Jennifer Hagel Smith, has endorsed the accident explanation and accepted a $1.1 million compensation from Royal Caribbean in 2007. Smith's body was never located, and there is still debate on whether his death was the consequence of foul play or an accident, leaving the case officially unresolved. Then 2011, that was the year of discovery of Baltic Sea anomaly. This oval-shaped object with strange markings on the Baltic Sea floor sparked speculation about it being an alien spaceship. Scientists currently believe it to be natural glacial deposit, but its true origin remains uncertain pending further exploration. While looking for shipwrecks in the Gulf of Bothnia, which lies between Sweden and Finland, the Swedish Ocean X diving team found the Baltic Sea anomaly a sizable circular feature. In June of 2011, the object is around 60 meters in circumference, or roughly twice the size of a football field, and can be seen on sonar scans at a depth of about 90 meters. Its mushroom-like disc shape, seemingly straight edges, and pedestal-like base immediately arouse popular interest and conjecture. Okay, Bermuda Triangle. Well, let me remind the younger listeners that although much has been said about it over the years, it is a region in the North Atlantic Ocean that is roughly surrounded by Florida, Bermuda, and the Great Antilles. In this area, more than 50 ships and 20 airplanes have inexplicably vanished. Although there are many supernatural interpretations, scientific ideas point to rogue waves, converging storms, and navigational errors close to the agonic line as probable causes. In the future, I might devote an entire episode to it, but that's in the future. So it's what happened recently, all these UFO claims like in transmedium UAPs. Well, one scientist in particular has left me unable to decide what to make of. He presents himself as a cool, collected, analytical man on the one hand, and then makes some outrageous claims that leave you baffled. Avi Loeb, a renowned UFO seeker and Harvard astronomer, has asserted that little spherules of enigmatic alloys could be proof of an interstellar craft that crashed in the Pacific Ocean in 2014, possibly even proving the existence of an extraterrestrial civilization. And then we have, of course, his theory that the 2017 detection of the interstellar object Oumuamua moving through our solar system might be an artificial probe or solar sail from an alien civilization. That garnered a lot of attention. More recently, in 2023, Loeb reported that tiny magnetic spherules, as I've said, had been recovered from the Pacific Ocean. He speculates that these could be pieces of an alien-made meteor that struck Earth in 2014. He is well known for supporting free scientific investigation into the potential for extraterrestrial life and technology, opposing what he perceives to be societal prejudice or stigma that impedes such studies. And yes, again, transmedium UAPs. You couldn't possibly miss shows like Weaponized and Joe Rogan's obsession with it, even if you're an average YouTube viewer. UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena, or transmedium UAPs, are enigmatic objects or vessels that have been seen shifting between various environments, particularly between air, water, and even space. Their capacity to function fluidly across media, for example, flying in the atmosphere before plunging into the ocean, defies accepted physics and technology, making these events noteworthy. To specifically include things that can move between domains air, sea, and space, the U.S. Department of Defense changed its nomenclature from unidentified aerial phenomena to unidentified anomalous phenomena, which includes transmedium UAPs and unidentified submerged things, or USOs. The 2004 Tic Tac incident, in which Navy pilots saw a smooth white rectangular object hovering above ocean waters with evidence indicating it might have come from beneath the sea is among the most well-known transmedium UAP incidents. Another instance happened in 2019 close to San Diego when U.S. Navy officers on board the USS Omaha noticed a transmedium UAP. But that's been in news for such a long time. I think you already saturated with that. So anyways, I also want to talk about ocean deserts. They're growing. Research indicates that between 1998 and 2007, these low productivity regions expanded by 15%. This rise is attributed to rising sea surface temperatures and greater ocean stratification brought on by global warming. Our inclination is to seek supernatural explanations for things that are typically completely explicable using the Occam's razor principle. Indeed, there are dead zones and twilights on our world, but how we actually characterize them is what matters the most. I'll attempt to be as accurate as possible because my scripts are starting to look more and more like those dazzling, spectacular, straight out of Top Gear show lines. Similar to continental deserts, ocean deserts are areas of the world's ocean with extremely low biological production and very little annual precipitation. Subtropical gyres are big, round ocean current systems created by worldwide wind patterns, and they usually occur at the same time. Despite comparatively high cloud cover, these gyres are linked to semi-permanent high-pressure systems that prevent the development of deep, precipitating clouds, which leads to little rainfall. The largest biome on Earth, ocean deserts, make up almost 40% of the planet's surface, and it's growing, right? And they're found mostly in subtropical latitudes such as the North Atlantic, South Atlantic, North Pacific, and Indian Ocean gyres, which are around 30 degrees north and south of the equator. Ocean deserts are characterized by low oxygen and nutrient levels, which result in low productivity and biodiversity. Because of ocean stratification and gyre circular circulation, which inhibits nutrition upwelling, nutrients have a tendency to sink to the ocean floor and mix poorly with surface waters. The growth of phytoplankton, the foundation of the marine food web, is restricted by this nutrient shortage, creating desert-like conditions in the water column. A related idea to this is dead zones or hypoxic ocean deserts, which are regions deficient in oxygen and frequently brought on by pollution and excessive nitrogen runoff from farmland. In contrast to the nutrient-poor subtropical gyre deserts, these dead zones likewise reflect oceanic areas with significantly lower levels of marine life. So this was just a brief overview of my maritime obsessions, and I will most likely come to some of them later on in the season. This was by no means a conclusion or a recommendation for where to find the answers. We want the answers just like we desire everything else. We always think we have a choice, and if you think there is something to it, well, that's the best illusion they sold us. I'm not being deterministic here. I'm just saying that regardless of what we think of ourselves, people are intrinsically stupid. Yeah, well, according to a wise guy, perspective and perception are two different things. It seems like it's sometimes easier to view stars in our oceans than what's directly underneath us. But even if it seems like there is no perspective, try harder and stay selective. Bye-bye.